Good morning, and welcome to another daily dose of encouragement. Today we're thinking about misperception. Misperception is something that we face today in society quite a bit. Social media misperceives or misrepresents things. People get misrepresented by our biases, by our prejudices, and we see a lot of misunderstanding and misperception. And one of the things that we want to think about is what kind of self delusion do we engage in? What kind of self delusion do we engage in with respect to ourselves, with respect to others? Because we are often guilty of misperception. And I want to use an illustration from the scriptures, as we always should, from the book of Mark, Mark chapter 2, verses 1 through 12. And I want you to think about how extreme the circumstances were for this individual. He was paralyzed, and his friends bring him to Jesus, and they do wonderful things to try and save him physically. But at the end of the day, when Jesus sees this man, what he attends to first is his spiritual state. Even though this man was paralyzed, even though he was in one of the most disastrous circumstances physically, and Jesus certainly had the ability to heal that as he does, the first thing that Jesus attends to is this man's spiritual state. So as we read through this, I want you to keep that in mind. Jesus' priority and Jesus' emphasis on dealing with the man's spiritual state first. Mark chapter 2, verse 1, when he had come back, Jesus, to Capernaum several days afterward, it was heard that he was at home. And many were gathered together, so that there was no longer room, not even near the door. And he was speaking the word to them, and they came, bringing to him a paralytic, carried by 4 men. Being unable to get to him because of the crowd, they removed the roof above him. And when they had dug an opening, they let down the pallet on which the paralytic was lying. And Jesus, seeing their faith, said to the paralytic, Son, your sins are forgiven. Some of the scribes were sitting there and reasoning in their hearts, why does this man speak that way? He is blaspheming. Who can forgive sins but God alone? Immediately Jesus, aware in his spirit that they were reasoning that way within themselves, said to them, why are you reasoning about these things in your hearts? Which is easier to say to the paralytic, your sins are forgiven? Or to say, get up and pick up your pallet and walk? But so that you may know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins, he said to the paralytic, I say to you, get up, pick up your pallet, and go home. And he got up and immediately picked up the pallet and went out in the sight of everyone, so that they were all amazed and were glorifying God, saying, we have never seen anything like this. When you think about the whole emphasis here, the whole emphasis is on the man's sins being forgiven. In fact, that's how Jesus represents himself. He wants to demonstrate that he has the authority to forgive sins. Jesus does not highlight his ability to heal, although that is a byproduct of his ability to forgive sins. He focuses on the spiritual. And that's the thing about Jesus. Jesus never gets lost in the physical. In the 33 years that he spent on this earth, he never once got lost in the physical. Satan tried to get him distracted by the physical. People tried to get him overwhelmed with the physical. But even in one of the most sympathetic and pitiful states, this man was paralyzed and carried by 4 people, lowered through a roof on mat. Jesus looked at him, and his first thing that he wanted to attend to was the man's spiritual state. He wanted this man to be forgiven of his sins more than he wanted this man to be physically healed. You see, Jesus knew that this man could continue on in paralysis. Jesus also knew that he should not continue on in sin. And so Jesus had a proper perception regarding the truest need of this man, this paralyzed man. Do you have that same perception? Do you have that same perception for you? And do you have that same perception for your friends and your family and your loved ones? More than anything else in the world, do you want them saved from sin? You see, it's great to take care of somebody. It's great to make sure that somebody has food. It's great to make sure that somebody is successful. All parents want that for their children. It's great to take care of a need, and we should take care of those needs. But we should never bypass the truest need. The truest need is salvation from sin. And though we do not have the power of Jesus to forgive sins by our own decree, we do have the power of Jesus in the gospel. And we are ministers unto him for that gospel. The gospel is the power of God unto salvation for all who believe. Are you getting people to listen to it? Are you sharing the gospel diligently? Is that the heart of your life? So your encouragement today, share the gospel with your loved one. Share the gospel with your loved one because it's more important than getting them to the doctor. It's more important than making sure that their house is taken care of. It's more important than making sure that they have food or shelter. The most important thing is salvation. Make sure that you are making that the most important thing in the life of your loved one. Your children, your friends, your family, your peers, your coworkers. Make sure it's the most important thing. And not just for them. Make sure it is the most important thing in your life. It's so easy to misperceive our spiritual need. It's so easy to get wrapped up in tending to paying the bills, in driving people, in feeding people. It's so easy to get wrapped up in things that aren't bad, that things are good, but they're not the most important thing. Don't miss the most important thing, even if it's for good things. Reflect on Mark 2 today. Reflect and don't fall under the disillusion of Satan. See people with the eyes of God. See people in need. Not just physically, but spiritually as well. God bless you, and may your hands, and may your feet, and may your mouth be wholly dedicated to the Lord, and may you run swiftly to those who are spiritually in need and serve them with the greatest of services. We love you, and if you need encouragement today, if you need to confess your sins and you need somebody to help you be accountable, if you need tips on how to stay diligent in your discipleship, please reach out to us. We're here always to serve. We are God's servants, and we owe a great deal to him, and we're going to do everything that we can to make sure that his people are on the straight and narrow. We love you. God bless.